few weeks ago H.R. 8 in the House, and that's a bill that would mandate background checks for private sales between private parties or guns sold on the internet. Why is that a bad idea in your mind?
Well, right now, all commercial gun sales do have a background check, and I find that this bill, it really hinders private citizens the most. If I have a gun and I want to sell it to my neighbor or I want to sell it to various family members, now I got to do a background check. So I think it really hinders law-abiding citizens more than anyone. And I can guarantee you, criminals are not going into and buying guns legally. They're stealing them or they're using straw purchases. So I don't think it impacts the criminal, but it does impact law-abiding citizens.
Well, actually, what it doesn't do, it doesn't impact sales between family members or loaning a gun to a family member, for example, or law enforcement, or even in a situation that puts someone in imminent danger. It doesn't do any of those things. And in fact, it
depends on the family member.
Congressman, it could have prevented, according to factcheck.org, it could have prevented the 2019 massacre in Odessa, Texas, that, as you know, killed 7 people, injured 22 people, including a 17-month-old girl, because the shooter in that case bought the gun from a private seller. Why is it not helpful to background check in private sales? Help me understand that.
Well, first of all, I would say that some family members are exempt, but not all. It hinders law-abiding citizens the most. I do believe all commercial gun sales
respectfully,
should have the
Congressman,
background check.
Seth Ator, who carried out the Odessa shooting in 2019, wasn't a law-abiding citizen. In fact, in 2014, he failed a background check to buy a gun from a licensed seller. So wouldn't he have failed the background check again if it was mandated in the private sale?
I'm sorry, you came in broken, Poppy. So you're saying there's someone that bought a gun illegally? Well, he should have been prosecuted. If someone is illegal in buying a gun, they should be prosecuted.
Okay. He didn't buy it illegally. He bought it in a private sale, and background checks are not required in private sales, and that's what H.R. 8 changes. That's what I'm asking you. Why do you think that's a bad idea if it could have prevented the massacre in Odessa?
There surely could have a potential impact here or there, but the vast amount of private citizens would be impacted by this. It puts a lot of onerous weight on their shoulders, and I do think the commercial sales, it's the right thing to do. But I think I saw it where it's maybe 1%.
I'm sorry, Congressman, here or there. I mean, tell that to the lives, the families that lost 7 loved ones in Odessa, or the 17-month-old that was shot.
If those who are doing the gun violence should be held accountable. I want to protect law-abiding citizens and not put onerous weight on their shoulders. But those who are guilty of gun violence should be prosecuted.
Have a lot of weight on their shoulders? I don't know if it's onerous for them to know who they're selling it to.
It is my responsibility to know who I'm selling a gun to. But I shouldn't have to do it to my neighbor if I know them. It's onerous weight on the First Amendment rights of the 99.9% of our citizens who are law-abiding. And so the weight of legislation should be against the criminals, not against law-abiding citizens.
Let's move on to H.R. 1446. This is the other House bill that you voted against. And what that would do is it would close the Charleston loophole, which is that after 3 days, if a gun seller doesn't complete a background check, if for some reason it gets caught up in paperwork, it doesn't come through, right now, that gun seller legally has to sell the gun to the person. And what this bill would do that you voted against extends that to 10 days. It says, let's wait a little bit longer. You have 10 days and a maximum of 30 days to get that background check through. This is how the white supremacist Dylan Roof, as you know, got his gun and then carried it into that church in Charleston and murdered 9 people during Bible study. Why is it a bad idea to close that loophole?
Well, the facts are that this would not have stopped Dylan Roof from buying that gun subsequently after they've researched it. I could maybe support
that's actually,
a longer time.
Congressman, that's actually not the fact. I went through all the data on this. That is not a proven fact.
Well, I've seen the corrected data saying he would have still had it. Here's the problem. It's not just 10 days. It's another 10 days if they don't have the first 10 done. And like I say, it goes to 30 days.
That's only a month.
If you're
That's only a month, Congressman, and we're talking about lives. So many lives lost. Is a month not worth waiting?
So if you're an abused woman and you want to get a gun to protect yourself, you have to wait 30 days. I don't think that's good. That's not good for you. That's also abridging your First Amendment or your Second Amendment rights.
So you don't necessarily. I hear you. And violence against women is, you strike at my heart when you say that. I understand what you're saying. But I can also tell you that FBI data from just 2018 shows that 90% of NICS background checks, right, what that woman would be going in and going through a NICS background check, they go through in minutes. So yes, there would be some exceptions where it may take up to 30 days. And we don't want any woman to be in danger. But I am saying that the data...
You said the same word I said. Exceptions, and we know that women have been murdered waiting to get a gun.
I hear you. But I also hear and I just laid out for you the case of Dylann Roof. So my question is, do you think that it is a bad idea to make a law that extends it by 10 days, possibly up to 30 days, to make sure you know everything you need to know about the person you're selling the gun to? That's the fundamental question here.
I could make a case for the 10 days if the data backs it up. But then, like you said, it's not just that. They want to go to 30 days. They want to keep extending 10 at a time. And by the way, when that happens, your registration or application for the background check expires. And many states have to go in and reapply. I think it's an onerous weight on law-abiding citizens. I'm here to go after the criminals. I don't want to protect law-abiding citizens' Second Amendment rights.
Congressman, thank you for having this discussion with me. Thank you. Before you go, I do want to ask you this, because you served this country bravely for decades, for 30 years overseas, many tours in the Middle East and Iraq. And you hear a lot after all of these mass shootings and after Boulder that Americans should not buy weapons of war. And I heard that yesterday from the former police chief of Aurora, Colorado. Listen to what he